Podcast, the show where we break down the inner workings of the human mind and learn how to think like successful people so that we can achieve anything in business or in life by changing the way we think. Eric,
what's up, man?
How you doing, man?
So good. I'm so happy to be here. I've been waiting for a couple months now for this.
So I'm gonna be honest. We're friends, so if it wasn't you that was here for the first episode, I'd probably be, pretty nervous right now because last night I did this Instagram story and I was like, I'm gonna research like all these world-class like podcasters and interviewers and try to be a good podcaster in the next 2 hours.
I think by the end of it, you'll be doing good.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. But I'm glad I have a good friend on to start it out. So
take it easy, slow and steady.
I'm not much for intros, but you built a $66 million business. You've done about $100 million in sales selling customizable jewelry online, and you started it by sleep. You were in Brooklyn, sleeping on a mattress. A whole bunch of crazy stuff went down.
Yep.
And now you're here. And before we get into that, I just want to say, like, how would your parents describe what you do?
I think they would describe me as somebody who is always willing to burn all of the ships. For me, I had a pretty tough childhood. I think a lot of entrepreneurs did. That provides an initial chip for them. They're pissed off at whatever, their circumstance or their parents or just something bad happened to their health. And so they have this huge chip. And for me, there was never a plan B. I felt like I was going to be successful no matter what. If it wasn't like this thing that I'm currently doing, it was going to be something else. And so maybe not even about the money so much, but just such a strong desire to be successful in whatever it was.
What gave you that chip? Because I know what gave me the chip that I had. I had a bunch of people who I was delivering pizza, and I would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna build a business one day," and they'd be like, "Shut up, take the delivery." I mean, what gave you that chip on your shoulder?
Well, a big part of it was, my family's been very entrepreneurial. My grandfather, he had a factory in Massachusetts, literally called Package Machinery. It was just like your old school factory, literally making boxes and packaging and stuff like that. And he sold that business. And then we had a few bad winters in a row where there was no snow up in New Hampshire, where I'm from. And the business ended up going bankrupt. And so bankruptcy, 30 years ago was a lot different than now. It was a true 7 years to repair your credit. And so, my dad, he went from being this entrepreneur to being a night security watchman. I literally remember him coming home with eggs and breakfast for us all after he was working all night at a hotel. So I had no idea what was going on at the time. Had no idea what happened.
How old were you?
I was 5.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
5, 6. And all three of us, me and my brother, sister, we were 3, 4, 5, something like that. So, that was really difficult. I was the poor kid at school. I was on free lunch. I remember Christmas, 3 Christmases in a row, I got the same thing, which was this little Hot Wheels set. And I'm like, oh, another Hot Wheels again. But we couldn't afford anything. So for me, going through puberty in high school at that point, I kind of wanted to latch on to something I could feel good about. And for me, it was sports at the time. So I threw myself into that completely. I would train for football during the summers, literally till 2, 3 in the morning. I'd be doing suicides and doing squats and stuff like that. And I had very good influences at the time. I had a really, really great mentors. I had my football coach. I still can hear him yelling in my ear to this day, saying, stop feeling sorry for yourself, stuff like that. So those were really good motivators at the beginning. And I was influenced a number of times by some very important people, not just in sports, but later in business too.
So let me ask you this: because I've seen you've taken me to your warehouse it's within the St. Petersburg city limits.
Yeah.
You took me there and it was super impressive. I mean, it's this gigantic, it's you wouldn't even know it was there. You would not know it was there. You would not know that this building randomly in this industrial part of town has done $100 million in frickin' e-commerce, you know? And so you take me there and you got these machines. Let's see if we can get, maybe Brandon can get a picture of your thing up. And I can hear myself like a delay in my headphones a little bit, Brandon. I don't know if you got the live stream going or not, but there's a picture of your, and how many people do you have working there?
Currently, we have 70 full-time employees.
70.
Yeah, 70.
70.
I think during peak Q4, we'll have about 200 in the U.S. And then we have an Amsterdam factory we're setting up now, too.
So this right here is your warehouse.
Yep.
Okay. And I mean, that's pretty big. And it's actually bigger than that. That's just one section of it. And then you have another one where you do media. But I remember being in there, it was just like last week. And yeah, zoom in a little bit, Brandon. Like, look at that. Look at all those people. So I want to understand the business model, because as far as I know it, you have this company called Shine On.
Yep.
And you got to correct me if I'm wrong, because we've been pretty stoned sometimes when we were talking about this.
Yeah.
Actually, funny, before I get into this funny story, we met at this mastermind. It was Founders Mastermind in downtown St. Pete, and you had this little Segway thing that you were riding around on all through St. Pete. That little the
one wheel.
The one wheel, yeah. And I remember, I think you rode it over to my penthouse here in downtown, and we got stoned and just talked business for like 3-4 hours.
Yeah, it was amazing.
In my condo, and it was a great conversation. And you told me, and I definitely want to talk about this, because you told me about. Because, a lot of people say, oh, read this book and read that book.
Yeah.
And you told me about the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, which I think a lot of people, say, hey, read this book. And people go, oh, yeah, that's cool. I'll read that book. But they don't actually read it, and they don't actually put it into practice. And I noticed some things when we were talking. Like, you would be like, oh, I'm sorry for interrupting. And you just said certain things, and I'm like, I really like this guy. Like, what is going on, And I said to you, I was like, why are you so freaking likable? And you told me, you cheater, that you read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, and you like went hardcore on it.
Yeah.
And how much has that helped you network and get through business and just progress in your career?
Yeah. So I think there's certain things you can learn that are timeless, right? There's certain principles that are timeless. And I think to be a good business person in the 1930s, when that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, was written, you couldn't hide behind email then. You couldn't hide behind social media. Like if you wanted to conduct business, you had to like look people in the eye. You had to shake their hand. You had to like keep your word. These are like old school fundamentals. And so I think it'd actually be really helpful if more entrepreneurs read that book today, because it's really head-slappingly simple things that he says, where you're like, oh my God, I should have been doing this my whole life.
Yeah.
Like simple stuff, like the sweetest word to somebody is their first name. So try to use their first name as much as possible, because they immediately perk up.
Right. Exactly, like, Eric.
Jesus. Yeah. Makes them feel good.
It does. And when I read that, but I literally, because when you told me that, it stuck with me. And I've read a little bit of the book, but I actually went out, I bought the book, and I read it, all the way through, and then I listened to the whole audiobook all the way through, and then I downloaded the cheat sheet. And I'm not gonna lie, it's hard. Oh. It is super hard. Like, some of this stuff is just hard to remember and hard to implement. And it's sort of like you have to take, and when you first read it, you really feel like a dick. At least I did. I read this and I'm like, well, I'm missing a lot of this. Like, my first reaction was, I must be a total dick, because I'm just reading all these things that we forget on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like not interrupting people, using their first names, smiling.
Yeah.
Just something as simple as smiling.
Start with a pleasant tone. That's a whole chapter on that.
The whole chapter on that. And you dive deep into it. And I think in business, and not even business, but in life, I'll give you an example. I was downtown, and I ran into somebody who had actually followed me for some time and bought some of my products and stuff. And he had a friend who's this like, high level, manages billions of dollars in real estate.
Yeah.
And I was just, very nice to them. And I mean, anybody could have been any one of 1,000 ways with their personality. And I was just trying to be very nice. And I noticed that his wife was a super, super sweet woman. And I remembered the book where it said, think about what appeals to them. Think about what brings value to them and how to appeal to them. And I noticed that she wanted to talk about like cooking and making food for people. And that was like really important to her. And so I had a conversation with her about that. And I learned a lot about a lot of food that I didn't know. And then we ended up getting invited to their penthouse, which is actually 4 penthouses that they bought at the top of, I forget which building, but I think it's Park Shore. And they combined all 4 penthouses into one mega penthouse.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was, and I learned so much about real estate and all that. And that was just,
Do you think it was from you connected because of the cooking conversation?
Yeah, because she invited us over for breakfast. Yeah, no, she wanted to cook for us. So like, I mean, we didn't get an invite before that, and then I mean, or maybe he would have invited us anyway. But it doesn't matter. The point is that sometimes I think we get wrapped up in all the problems in life, and so we're so focused on those problems and thinking about those problems that when we go in all these different scenarios in life, our problems are on our mind. And it's not that we're not nice people, but we don't take the time to articulate how nice and how genuine we are because we're just so drowning in our own world of negativity and all the stuff we have to do. And I think that book just gives a great reminder to how to bring that to the surface.
Yeah, totally. And there's a whole chapter literally just on listening.
Yeah.
And at the end, he tells a story about how he had like an hour-long conversation with a woman on a couch, and he maybe said like 5 words. And he was just asking questions, maybe like 5 or 6 questions. And she was talking the whole time, like blah, blah, blah. I mean, he was into it. But at the end, she was like, "Oh, you're such a good conversationalist." And he was like, "I haven't said anything." But he just allowed her to sort of vent, and just being there, like just holding space, I think, for people can be really beneficial, because everybody, especially in our business, our line of business, they just want to talk about what they're doing like all the time and what they're currently up to.
Yeah, right. I do notice. How do you think those tactics and that paradigm shift of how to interact with other humans, how do you think that differs between dealing with employees and dealing with just like other entrepreneurs, other people in your life that you don't pay?
I think the principles are the same, right? Like a mentor of mine, he's the co-founder of Zappos. His name's Fred Mossler, and he treats his vendors the exact same way that he treats his employees, and he treats people in the Las Vegas community the same way he treats vendors. And they'll actually have vendor parties. They'll fly in their vendors once a year and have like a huge mega blowout party. And something awesome that he told me was like friends, this concept of friends first. Like literally, if you just try to become friends first, all right, you know what they're doing a little bit, maybe not 100%, but just focus on being friends first and really solidifying that, and then the business will come naturally if what they're doing is good. But you should be able to kind of know that ahead of time, so you don't have to worry so much about the business. Just kind of relax and see how you connect on different things.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they try to create opportunities, and that's sort of, I mean, it's cool, but when you're networking and you're trying to make connections, a lot of times you just have to let opportunities come to you. And I think that if you try to create opportunities, you will go into meeting people in a disingenuous way, because you'll always have an agenda going in. I mean, if you meet somebody that is a player, right? Something is at some point is going to come of that. Something at some point, you don't know what it is right now, but at some point.
You mean like an A player?
Yeah, I mean,
Like
it could be somebody that becomes an A player. It could be somebody that's already an A player. It could be somebody that has done something that you respect. It could be a huge person in the industry. It doesn't matter. But the point is if you try to go into that relationship thinking, what am I going to get out of this from the beginning? It's not gonna be genuine. And if you go in and you just become friends and let the opportunity come to you, I think it's a lot better.
I have a firsthand example of this recently. I think we did a little bit of that. Also, my friend Will, who you know, who lives downtown here.
Right. Yeah.
He's just a really interesting guy. I just like him a lot. He does some cool things in skincare and in like NFTs.
Right.
And so I knew when I first started getting to know him, like immediately there wasn't going to be any way where we do business together. And I was okay with that because I didn't care. I just loved what he was doing in his own stuff. And I just wanted to be friends with him. But, you know, over the past week or so, I've had an idea where I was like, holy shit, Will would actually be like the perfect partner on this. And so you can't like expect those things to happen. It's just sort of, you know, the way is of the universe sometime if you establish friends first. Yeah,
absolutely. I totally agree. So let me just go back to this mattress that you were sleeping on.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go deep on
mattress,
this.
pizza boy.
Yeah.
My mattress is your pizza.
Let's see. I am a mattress sleeper. Every time I move into a new place, doesn't matter what my financial situation is, I always end up sleeping on a mattress for 2 months because I can't pick out what bed I want, you know. But I do like sleeping on a mattress surrounded by nice walls versus the walls I used to have around, which were crumbling.
Yeah.
But you know, let me ask you this: you had some stuff happen. You know, you took on some venture capital. You don't have, I mean, you can get in it as much in this as you want, but you had some bad stuff happen and you basically had to sort of start over. Would that be accurate?
With Shine On, yeah. So, you know, excuse me, 1 second. Yeah. So I ended up.
So polite. Is that in the book too?
I'm doing it for the listeners.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So what happened there? Like, whatever you want to share.
Yeah. So I like to say I'm a 2-time venture capital refugee. Okay. So the first time was when I was at custommade.com. We ended up raising about $25 million. Google was our investor, like all the top Silicon Valley investors, and we were basically, we were basically a high-end Etsy, average order value like $1,000. But it was a great idea. The business, it didn't work at scale. We were burning $1 million a month. And so it was just you were
burning $1 million a month? What does that mean?
We were losing $1 million a month just because of our overhead. And when you raise that much money, you're actually encouraged by all of your investors. Like, dude, we gotta spend this as fast as possible because they either want it to pop in 2 to 4 years, or they don't want you to be the Walking Dead indefinitely. They would rather have you die or crush it quickly, time value of money. But so I saw, some of the advantages and pitfalls of raising that much money. You lose a lot of control of your company, you have board. And so when I started Shine On, I didn't have any money either. So when I couldn't even pay myself really. I actually started it on unemployment, which is honestly, that's the best trick. If you want to start a company, try to get fired. Ask your company, hey, can you please fire me instead of leaving? Because then you can get unemployment and you can get it for like 9 months. So I was actually I went to Germany. I was doing my unemployment forms from Germany. And the whole time I was taking literally all the money from the unemployment and putting it into Shine On at the very beginning.
Wow.
Then that money ran out. And then I was selling motorcycle rings to motorcycle clubs because I had this jewelry production knowledge. And I was like, how can I sell to a lot of people very quickly? So I made rings for like 6 or 7 motorcycle clubs. And that's how I paid my rent after the unemployment money ran out.
Did you have a machine for that, or did you? Because I see all the machines you have right now, but what did you have then?
So at that time, I had a friend who had a massive factory in Thailand, in Bangkok. And so the first version of Shine On was, we would, a marketer would give us their idea for a piece of jewelry, like a ring or a necklace. We would actually do a 3D render. It looked like a photo. It looked realistic.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, if you actually just Google scooter ring, like on Google, something I designed, looks like a Vespa.
Okay.
So like Vespa scooter ring.
Now I feel like an idiot because I don't know what a Vespa is.
It's just like an Italian scooter.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Actually, we'll talk about a funny scooter story in a few minutes. You reminded me. Do you remember what happened to me when I met Mara?
No.
You don't remember that? I'll just tell it real quick because Brandon's gonna bring up a picture of this example. But you introduced me to Mara Glazer, who I ended up hiring to do some copywriting for How to Think.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I remember I got that Segway to go downtown.
Yeah.
And so I Google like how to make it go faster because it was only going 15 miles an hour, and I got it to a different mode where it went 25 miles an hour.
Damn,
and I'm
fast.
Right. So, but here's just a crazy thing about how thoughts can create reality. Is I'm driving down the road or scooting or whatever, and I think to myself, how bad would this suck if I totally wiped out right now? And 5 seconds later, I went to scratch my head, which I don't know why I did that, and I went over the top of it, wiped out. My knee was bloody, my hand was all messed up.
Jesus.
Road burn.
Going 25?
Going 25.
That's pretty fast.
Yeah, and I don't even know how and so I literally, like, the scooter's all bent, and I end up scooting down to Beach Drive and meeting Mara for the first time, and right after, and I'm full of blood, and my stuff's ripped, like my jeans are ripped up, and I sit down, and I'm like, instead of saying, "Hi, how you doing? I'm Dan Henry," I had to explain to her why I looked like I just got into a fight with a bear.
She probably liked it. Like, wow, this guy's edgy.
Yeah, like he still showed up, you know. But that just reminded me about how, like, when you think of something, you can like create the situation to happen. But Brandon, do you have that? There
it is.
Okay, so click on this.
This was the first thing I ever designed for Shine On. So I was the first seller. I was the first CS agent, website designer, jewelry designer,
you did everything.
marketer. I was packing the jewelry myself, like the whole first year. But anyway, what happened was, this is how I kind of got started with it. I would work with a marketer. I would make something custom, and then they would actually put that on their store, that just a render, so there's no inventory. And then we would take all the orders each week, and I would put it in an Excel sheet, and then I would send it to my friend in Thailand who ran a factory there. He makes all of David Yurman's jewelry, if you've heard of that brand, high quality men's jewelry. And so, yeah, that was great. I'm
gonna stay silent so I don't have to admit that I don't know what that is. But
not a lot of guys do. But yeah, that was the first version of Shine On. So I went from this like motorcycle rings to actually designing some stuff myself. And then what happened was, Teespring came out.
Yeah.
Teespring is like print-on-demand T-shirts, and it was one of the first things Facebook marketers sold there. I know a ton of guys who are millionaires, a couple guys even in this area who made millions selling T-shirts there. And I had this jewelry knowledge, and so I was like, man, I love working with these marketers. We could really I could scale this up much more quickly if I started working with Facebook marketers. And so luckily, I had the prior experience from Custom Made, which was, it was still a success. Like, it didn't work out, but we still raised a lot of money. We made a lot of noise, and there was some trust there just from me being around that environment. And so I raised about $1 million in venture capital, and then immediately after, actually hired Teespring's head of sales and Teespring's head of marketing. And that's how the initial Shine On got started.
Wow.
And then they brought all the sellers over.
Now, I know that you raised capital and then something went wrong. And then did you have to raise capital again?
What happened was, it wasn't that anything went wrong per se. It's just that we're a pretty capital intensive business. $1 million is not that much money if you want to build something large scale. Okay. But what happened was, it took 4 to 5 weeks for these items to be made in Thailand and then sent back to us, where we would repackage it and then ship it to the customer. So these items sold super well, and we did over 5,000 various 3D designs. And we did about 5-6 million in sales that first year. But what happened was, we were getting a lot of chargebacks because of the wait. People didn't want to wait that long. They didn't trust it, even though the quality was super good. But no matter how
long did it take?
It took like 4 to 5 weeks after your purchase. So buyers are, I think their limit's around 2-3 weeks for pre-ordering.
Then they get pissy.
They get antsy. So we started getting a lot of chargebacks. And because we pay the sellers out like next day on their commissions or when it ships, we would get these chargebacks after the fact.
So just to get the business model right, you partner with people who want to sell their own personalized jewelry, and you make the jewelry and you ship. So it's like drop shipping, and I believe you also give them the education on how to promote their products and get it out into the world.
Yeah. So fast forward to today. I mean, anyway, we were running out of cash, and at one point I said, never again am I going to not make something myself. Okay. So it's like, I want to own the entire supply chain. Right.
Right. And just so I'm clear, I just want to be sure I'm clear.
But
that was because it took too long, right?
Just because it took too long.
That
was it.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
Literally the only reason.
Sorry to interrupt.
And then there's another thing about, having more control of your margins.
Right.
Being able to provide better customer service for everybody. But yeah, fast forward to today. I mean, we started in jewelry, but we're an on-demand factory that we prototype, we develop, and we sell ourselves viral gift products. So jewelry, wallets, watches, all personalized. And then what we do is we launch them through what we call an IPO process, initial product offering. So we'll say, hey, sellers, we got this new wallet that's personalized. We sold like 500 grand in our initial tests. And then we literally give away the farm. Like, here's exactly how we're doing it. And boom, now it's live in your app and it's free. Just go click, 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 and you can add it to your store. And now you can sell this product. So we're almost becoming a little product agnostic. We're adding like metal wall art, like that could go up here. I'll have something made for you.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I could use some more brains around this
It'd
place.
be sweet. Personalized.
Awesome, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
You might have to get me selling some products, because I'm going to be honest with you. E-commerce, physical products is super difficult. And I told you this when I was at your warehouse. Dude,
You were like, oh no, I don't know if I'm into this.
I couldn't do it. I could not do it. I mean, I'm looking at all these machines. So just to break down the thought process here, right? I'm standing in this warehouse. I know that you guys have hundreds. You've sold almost $100 million worth of this stuff. You have machines that are like, what's your most expensive machine?
Ooh, we have auto pack machines that are about $250,000 a piece.
So $250,000 machines. And in my mind, here's what I'm thinking. What happens when something breaks? You got to call somebody. They got to come out. They got to get a part. And then you got orders and like blah, 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 and all this stuff going on. It's just, I got to ask you this. How do you deal with the stress of going to bed every night and knowing that at any point something like that could happen that could massively derail your business? Like, how do you deal with that, and how do you cope with that?
E-commerce is complex because, not only are you doing the marketing, sometimes you're also doing the training, but you're also, if you're doing it right, I mean, you're also doing your own supply chain. You're buying inventory, you're storing it, you're shipping it out. So sometimes what we do, because we're moving fast and we actually forget how many potential points of failure there could be, but we'll actually just write out a list. I'm like, what if any of these things fail, are we screwed? Like, is this going to ruin the whole thing? And so a lot of times we're like, wow, yeah, if we ran out of XYZ, that would shut down like everything. And so constantly making lists, constantly, if there's a new thing that's super imperative, making sure there's ownership of it. But
what do you mean by making sure there's ownership?
That somebody owns that. It's like, hey, if you have one job to do, it's make sure that we never run out of these like 50 different things.
Has that happened?
We have an inventory manager too. Yeah. A lot of it is, automated now. So like our inventory management's automated. There's software to do it too.
But you had to build up to that.
We built our own.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we'll kind of get a heads up of something running out. But look, honestly, stuff just happens too. Like it's guaranteed that stuff will happen, major stuff. Whether it's a flood here or like a hurricane, or like there's a crazy cargo ship backup right now, like all around the world. There's like crazy logistics problems. And so the number one thing for your customers is to just be a good communicator with them. And that's honestly, it's a lot harder said than done. So that's where some of these Dale Carnegie principles come into play.
Right.
Just like thinking about them and their feelings, being proactive, saying like, hey, there's an issue here. You probably won't receive this in this time, but then give them some options. Like, I could do this for you. I could do this for you. I could do this for you. And just make them feel like they're the decision maker next. And usually when you allow them to make decisions on what they want to do with their order, then a lot of the time they're more cooperative, and they actually will want to work with you. And sometimes you build stronger bonds with people and with customers when you screw up, and then you like something detrimental happens,
Like that
and
redemption story.
Yeah, the redemption, and you like go through this like thing with them, and they actually like you have a tighter bond because they're like the next time Eric screws up, like I know he'll be in my corner and he'll like figure it out. So the same thing with employees too.
Do you feel that, because I don't know if you've ever read the psychology behind likability and being imperfect. Like, you know what a Mary Sue is? Mm-mm. So in film, a Mary Sue is a character that is basically perfect and has no flaws. And so like imagine Superman, but there was no kryptonite. Like he wouldn't be that interesting, you know? And like when the Star Wars movies came out, a lot of people were saying that Rey was like a Mary Sue, and that's why people weren't interested in her. And then so like later in the movies, they really
she had no flaws.
Right, she had no flaws. And so you'll notice that in the second and third movie, they really dived into her like flaws around you know, her parents and things like that, and some other things. But the concept is that if you have a character in a movie that is perfect and has no flaws, then there's nothing to be interested in. There's nothing to be likable. There's nothing to bond with that, because you can't relate to somebody that's perfect. And I think a lot of times people strive to be perfect, and they let perfection get in the way of the thing that makes them human and makes them relate to other humans. And that in of itself is having flaws.
Yeah, I think, you know, we have our seller group on Facebook, and so we're always analyzing what gets the most engagement, and it's usually two things. It's posting about success, and then it's posting about like the hard times that you went through, or like stories, hard stories, like redemption stories. Like people are so into that because we can all relate. Yeah, we can all relate to that.
Do you feel entrepreneurs have an unrealistic expectation that nothing will go wrong? And that if something does go wrong, that means they did something, they failed, or they're a bad person, or they were wrong this whole time in their dreams. You know, like I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs really have that expectation going in that everything is going to go right, and they don't know how to mentally deal with it when things go wrong.
Yeah, I think that entrepreneurs understand that things are going to go wrong, but every entrepreneur is different in their how much they're willing to deal with. Like a lot of people will throw in the towel on something where somebody else won't. And I have two really good examples from my life about not throwing in the towel. And this is not, I'm not saying I'm right or right or wrong by throwing in the towel or not throwing in the towel.
Right.
But I'll give you an example of custommade.com, where, you know, we raised all that money, and then I ended up leaving, the CEO ended up leaving. But the third guy in our gang, mentor of mine, Seth Rosen, he said, no, I'm going to stick with it. And so he made a deal with the bank, wrote off all of the debt, and he just went into this incubation period. And now custommade.com is like a $20 million, $30 million a year business. And he brought it back to life solely because he had a high tolerance for going through that. And he was so obsessed with it that he wanted to continue working on it. And same thing with me. I got to a point where after I burned all this seed capital that we raised, and at one point I actually had to let go of almost all of the company, like 90% of the company. I had to let go of like 15, 20 people in one day once.
15, 20 people in one day?
In one day. Yeah, we called it the Red Wedding. Like
oh my God.
From Game of Thrones.
Yeah, you have to be a Game of Thrones nerd to get that joke.
But not in a mean way. But it was just like, no, like, and everybody was like, Eric, give the investors the rest of the money back. And there was maybe like $100,000 left in the bank account, and I was just like, no, I'm not going to, because like I still have this vision for it. I need more time. And so I literally went from this super high, and there's actually, if you Google the entrepreneur's journey, there's a graph of this where there's like this initial excitement, and then there's this period called the trough of sorrow. And then if you keep continuing going through the trough of sorrow, you get to experimentation and pivoting and new ideas. And then eventually you get product market fit. And then when you get product market fit, then you can scale. And so how much are you willing to tolerate going through that trough? Because I'm not going to lie, at that point, I cut my salary to like 40 grand a year. And I wouldn't say I was a loser. It's just that I kind of went into like hibernation mode where I actually my mind was going crazy. And if I didn't turn to meditation to help me calm down and just get refocused, like, all right, how am I going to pull this off? I would tell myself every day, like, this is going to be in a book someday. So yeah, we were down to like 20 grand in our bank account. This is going to be
a book someday. Dude, that's roast on that for a second. This is going to be in a book someday.
Yeah.
That's deep, man. I mean, if you think about it, like that's some internal motivation.
Yeah. I mean, I would tell people, I'm like, you don't understand. Like, there's no plan. I'm not going back. There's no plan B. Like, I'm in this thing. You can't kill me, basically. And I don't care if I make $0 for like 4 years. Like, I'm going to make this work. And so and then I kind of learned that there's always something that you can do. I hired another mentor who helped me out with some financing, and I actually bought the company back from the investors because I believed in it so much. So I was literally taking out like personally guaranteed loans to buy back the rest of the company. So not only was I going from $0, then I even put myself in debt, like, to get the company back. Wow. Because I was like, no, you don't get it. Like, I still see this path forward. I just need time. And so I actually have never raised money again since then. So we went from having 20 grand in the bank account to we did a Hail Mary. We bought one machine, and I moved out from Brooklyn to New Jersey, and we started tinkering in a 1,000 square foot garage with machinery, and we built our first Shopify app in 2017, and we were the first people to do print on demand jewelry. And so then just incrementally building, come up with some new products, keep promoting, keep doing what you say you're going to do, build trust with the seller, with your customers. And yeah, now we're doing like 66 million a year in product sales, all bootstrapped. Yeah.
So if you were to like imagine that on a graph, right? Where, how much money did you raise at the height of that?
At the beginning we raised 1 million, and then we ran out of that and we got down to 20 grand. And then.
So you're here at 1 million,
yeah.
Right? And imagine it's a plane, right? And the plane starts nosediving, and it's heading towards the ground, and it literally goes so close to the ground before it pulls up that it's like 200 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
And you know, if you're on the ground, it literally blows your hat off as it scoops up, and then skyrockets up to, you know, from its original elevation of 1 million up to 66 million. That's insane.
Yeah. So I went through the whole range of emotions like you could possibly imagine. Like, idea, raising money. Oh, other people believe in me. Like, this feels good. Like, everyone thinks I'm smart. I have a great idea. And then reality sets in, and just being like a total loser, firing everybody, I had to learn accounting because I had to fire my accountant. I had to get rid of all the insurances. I'm like, what am I protecting here? Something that's like worth nothing. So I was like, fuck it. No insurance, no nothing. And so, but that was like the best lesson I ever learned, because I had to learn a little bit about everything in the company, all the operations, efficiencies. And so that going through that experience actually is really helpful today when I'm seeing all the pieces from a high level, because I've done all those jobs myself. To a certain extent, I know enough about everything, so I'm very grateful for that experience. But I'm also grateful for capitalism. I'll be honest, because it allows you to go through that whole adventure and like that whole journey, and it is you against yourself. You're not really like competing against other people, even though you think you are. It's just like you have to it's you in the mirror. So how disciplined can you be, right? Like, how disciplined can you be? How can you calm your mind? Can you get over your old shit? Because a lot of people, they bring their old life's experiences into their current business, and they'll actually project sometimes. So if they are very needy, if they're a very needy person because someone left them or whatever in the past, then they're just going to be attention seeking in their business. So these are bad habits that could kind of take you down. So you really have to quiet your mind and try to get over your old shit and not project. A lot of people too, you might hire people from outside the company coming in.
Do the same thing.
And they're in a position of power and you don't see their bad habits in an interview and you would never know. But then after, 6 months of working there, you're like, this person's horrible. Like, just like they're projecting in because they're in this position of power now.
Did you identify anything about yourself, old baggage that you were starting to bring in to your company, and then you like identified it, you acknowledged it, and you got rid of it? Did you ever go through anything like that? Like you couldn't have always been the super nice guy that you are now, Eric. I refuse to believe that because it'll make me feel even worse. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I'll be honest. Like when I had to let the whole company go, I had somebody that really pushed me into doing that because I was like so nervous to do that. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But going through that experience made me a very strong person, right? I think the old me probably wouldn't have done it, and I would have taken it down and gone down with the ship with everybody. But I got this sort of push from a friend, and he kind of helped me plan letting go of the whole company. And so, yes, like the entrepreneurial journey, it helps you grow as a person too, in many ways. So I'm very grateful.
Do you think the unwillingness to let somebody go or let people go because it's a good business decision, that was a potential thing that was kind of brought in that was a detriment and you had to learn how to get over that? Would that be one of the things that, I guess as you called it earlier, I think you called it baggage?
Yeah.
Would that be something that you think was baggage that you brought in that you had to get over? That was like a major thing?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I think, inexperienced and younger entrepreneurs, they have trouble doing that, like letting people go. Yeah. But then I started seeing things through a different lens with running a business. Now I actually see it as we're here together. We're working on this project for like a finite amount of time. So instead of thinking about like there's an owner and there's an employee and they're basically like slaves to the company, like they own you. I don't think that way. I think, and I'm open with my employees, like, hey, this is a project we're working on for 2 to 3 years. So let's go get committed to this thing and let's go crush it and let's see what happens, right? And then, provide the right incentive for us to crush it together. So having that sort of we're working on a project mindset, it's helpful in letting people go. Because everything is finite, and I'm not even going to be there in 5-10 years either. And I tell people that this is a project, so we're not going to be doing this forever. It's not like we're married, so
sort of
it's
like,
okay.
Like Michael Jordan was not always going to play in the Chicago Bulls, but while he was there, and while his teammates were there, they did the best they could to win as many championships as they could. Yeah. But ultimately, that entity, that concept, that project will live on.
Right.
Is that how you view it?
Yeah. Actually, so the term I use is let's go out and like get this Super Bowl ring. If we can go, and that might be we go public or we get acquired or something, that experience that all the employees had, they can look at that Super Bowl ring and be like, yeah, I was part of that. I did that. And then what they can do is parlay that experience and go off and do their own thing in their next company. And then maybe I'll even invest in it. Or they'll be able to get investment because people are like, wow, they worked at Shine On. So that's what I'm trying to do with this whole Shine On thing is employees, if they can get a Super Bowl ring, sellers, there's a lot of sellers who started with selling our product in e-commerce. And now I know 24 guys that I'm friends with who started selling our product and now they're doing $10 million a year on their store, selling something else. But, we all got wins like early out of it. And that's what's important, is getting wins together.
So if I was going to read between the lines here, I would say that one of the biggest things to keep in mind with everything that you said is before all this, you have to really get clear on why you're doing it and where you want to end. Because, if you were just give you an example, right? Like Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins is Tony Robbins. You know what I mean? That's his brand is his name. So, you know, the whole like, maybe the concept of I'll be here, you know, for a temporary amount of time and then eventually I'll be gone. Maybe that still applies to his company. I'm sure he has an exit, or I'm sure he has a death strategy, you know, because nobody lives forever. I'm sure he's not just going to die in his company. That's it. I'm sure he's going to somehow has a plan of action in there. But, you know, I think if you were to say, well, my goal is to exit, or my goal is to build something great, or my goal is to change the world, or my goal is to do this. I mean, would you say that you have to get super, super clear on what that is before you can start, as you said, going after the Super Bowl rings, because you got to know what game you're playing, you know?
100%. 100%. Like, people ask me, has my vision changed? I'm like, no, my vision's literally been the same thing for 5 years ago. Like, where we're at now is where I thought we could eventually be. And so I need to keep going.
How would you articulate that vision?
So 5 years ago, I said I wanted to be the Teespring of jewelry. So I was just looking at that model, and I want to build something just as big as them. And at the time they were doing 100 million a year in sales. And so
you're almost there.
Yeah. Now we're getting close to there. Actually, in 2 weeks, we'll hit 100 million in sales all time. So yeah, like if you don't have that vision and you're not committed to it, if you go through hard shit, like I went through, if I didn't have that, level of commitment, then I would have totally thrown in the towel. It might be different though. If you're making good cash, if you're cash flowing and then suddenly it starts hitting bumps, I could see you getting out then because you've made all this cash already. But for me, it was kind of like, and still like most of my personal, like all my assets, like most of my wealth is actually in the business. So I'm thinking like long term, and it's definitely risky. It's a huge risk, and that's my personality.
You got that nice condo that's being built right now, Saltaire in downtown. That's a little sexy.
I gotta start my podcast there.
You got to invite me over, man. That place looks like it's gonna be sick.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do some events there, some masterminds and
it's
stuff.
Gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. Let me ask you a question. And I know that your company's a little bit different than say mine, where I'm a little bit more like the face of it kind of thing. And you're, I mean, you are, but like e-com, it's about the products and all that. And, you know, so I'm sure a lot of people, as somebody who built this, they have a way they view you, probably a lot of different ways they view you. What would you say is something that people misunderstand about you?
That's a good question. Misunderstand. Well, you know, even when I throw these figures out, like 100 million, 66 million, I try to not make it about me. I try to say, we sold this together, right? Like we did this together. And so people might see me as, I don't know, being selfish because maybe on my Instagram I promote like all this personal stuff, but at the end of the day, like I want everybody to win. Like I truly do. And one thing is, if you make other people money, they'll always invest in you in your next thing. So they
stay with you on the ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look how a lot of these funds have been built. Like you got guys that they run a certain type of business, they make people money, and then they start like a real estate fund or this, and then they're investing in that. So that, you know, that totally makes sense.
If I was your client and, you know, I made a lot of money from your trainings, right, or teachings, and then you said to me, hey, I'm going to go start this other thing. Do you want to invest in it? I'm like, hell yeah, you made me so much money, dude. Like literally here's like, you know, here's $1 million or whatever investment, like no brainer. I trust you. You made me money. Here, let's do it again. You know,
I think people underestimate the value of creating a great product. I think there's a lot of people out there that do it for a cash grab, and they do it for clout, and they do it for a lot of the wrong reasons. And they don't really care, or it's not that they care, but they don't put the effort into making a great product, because at the end of the day, a great product will, it will transcend a lot of mistakes. And that's the thing, is you're going to make mistakes. And when it comes to confidence, a lot of people in life, not just entrepreneurs, but a lot of people in life, they lack confidence. And I always say that you cannot build confidence. If anybody tells you you can build confidence, is full of shit. You build competence, and as a byproduct of that competence, you are granted confidence. Let me ask you this.
I like that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I want to resist the urge to ask you a classic question like, well, if you could go back to your 18-year-old self and tell them something, what would you tell them? But what I'd like to ask is, how did you, in the ups and downs, it's easy to feel confident, have faith, and stay the course when things are up. But when things are down, that's where people break and they fall off. What did you do specifically in your brain, in your mind, that helped you get through those dips and maintain the course and maintain the faith and keep the confidence even when things looked bleak, especially when that plane was right at the bottom, 20 grand left in the bank, or whatever other challenges you've had? How did you maintain, what did you tell yourself every day to maintain that level of dedication?
Well, I think that you have to take the pressure off yourself. And so I'm in the process of writing this book. It's going to be called The Entrepreneur Survival Guide, 20 Things You Can Do When You're Totally Effed.
Oh, God, I love that title. That's a great title, dude.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, imagine like how you would equip yourself for the zombie apocalypse. It's like that, but for like business.
For business.
So I've been through like 20 of these things already. And at some point though, like once you're like, I'm doing this no matter what, you at some point have to take the pressure off of yourself in the day to day. So you have to say, all right, like, look, man, I still have to sleep 8 hours and I can work like a maximum of 16 hours. And so, you just have to be as efficient with your time, because if you literally do everything like perfect, and when you have no money left in the bank, you have to like watch literally everything, like watch every dollar spent, every hour you have to be doing the right things. I remember literally going to like open certain tabs in Chrome, and I'd be like, no, like you can't do that right now. No, what the fuck are you doing? Like, stay focused here. We don't have time for this right now.
Was it Pornhub you were trying to open, or?
It was just like, it could be anything, like ESPN. It could be like news. I've been addicted to news before. And so
news, sports, all. So have you ever got addicted to looking at things that you didn't have yet? Houses, cars, stuff like that.
Ooh, that's a good question. Like fantasizing about cars and stuff?
Yeah, like imagine you're sitting there and you're working and you're like, if I just work hard enough, I'll be able to buy X or Y or Z. So then you go and you look up that car, you look at the features, you look at the, you look at how much it cost. I mean, I'll be honest, one thing I used to do is I used to put real estate up that I liked, and I'd say, okay, this
like
costs...
a vision board?
Like a vision board, and I would leave the tab up on my computer, and every like 2 hours or so, I would just flip over and I'd look at the house. And I remember I did that with, I don't think I knew you then, but when I had that 8,000 square foot house on the water in Gulfport, I was looking up.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I sold it and I bought the penthouse because I just living on the water, man. It's like, dude, there's always a contractor at your house every single day.
Like mowing or something?
Well, no, just fixing stuff, because the salt water blows with the Florida winds. They blow against the house, and you're right on the water, so stuff rusts. I had to replace my outdoor fans like every 3 months.
Oh, wow.
They would just get completely rusted no matter what you did. And just all kinds of crazy stuff. The dock, just so much stuff. And I just didn't want, I wanted to focus on my business, and I wanted to stop leaving my phone around, and then not finding it for 6 hours because it was on the, it was on the third floor and this and that. So when I bought the penthouse downtown, I just liked it a lot. It was actually more expensive than the house I owned, but it was smaller, and it was just, I don't know, I like the lifestyle more. But what I did was I would put up a house that was very, very similar to that house. And I would leave it up in my tabs. And every 2 or 3 hours, I would just take a break and I would look at it. And I'd be like, all right, I got to get to this much money, obviously after taxes, And so I would look and I'd say, okay, I need to sell this many units of my consulting or whatever. And I would basically make that sort of like because, goals are weird, like, what are goals? People have goals, but goals change. I just knew that I wanted to have a really nice house, and I wanted to invite my family over, and I wanted my family to experience being in a nice place, because they didn't really get to do that.
Yeah.
And so I would leave it up.
Yeah. So my opinion on it is, are you familiar with lead and lag measures?
No, I would love you to explain it to me.
Lead and lag measures would be like, so lag measure would be how much revenue your company did in the last month.
Okay.
But that's lead measures are more activity based. So here are the things I'm measuring each day for things I can control. Because you literally can't control somebody else buying your stuff. I mean, you can't take their hand and force them to click and type in their credit card.
You can, but I think you'd get arrested.
It sounds fun. It's like, open daddy's wallet.
Dude, you should film an ad where you like break into somebody's house and make them buy a little customized pendant
like
or something.
gun to their head.
Well, that would not get approved.
Yeah. So if you think about lead and lag measures, like a lag measure would be revenue. You can't literally control somebody opening their wallet and buying them. They still have to do that on their own. But something you can control every day is, I'm going to go live 2 times today. I'm going to set 40 appointments. I'm going to try to close X amount of sales. So these are the things that you can control. Like, I've always looked at houses and cars and stuff as like a lag measure. It's like, I would rather set a goal of like doing X, Y, Z for the things I can control. Because if I do everything I can control, most likely I'm going to get those prizes. So my goal would be like only the things I can control, which would be maybe orders made or whatever metric, because then my taste might also change. I might also want a different car or something later on anyway.
Could I present to you a different way to think about it, and maybe
it's how to think, bro.
Yeah, it's how to think, right? And get your perspective on it. So I have this crazy concept that I've really started to delve into recently, the idea of not having goals. Now, that's hyperbole right now, right? So
I know a lot of people like that.
But let's dive into it. So if you have a goal, like let's say you want to go to the gym, okay, and you want to get jacked, and the only reason you're going to the gym is because you want to get jacked. So you go to the gym, and when you get there, you realize you're kind of fat and out of shape. You don't have abs, but you look around the gym and you see all these people with abs, big muscles, and you say, well, they're jacked and I'm not jacked. That's why I'm here. So now I feel out of place. I feel like I don't belong. And it gives you this sense of, automatically, right off the bat, you feel unaccomplished, you feel less, you feel like you don't belong, right?
Yeah.
Because you're setting this expectation that the reason you're there is for a goal. When instead, if you simply fall in love with the process, you fall in love with working out, it doesn't matter what you look like, you love working out, you're going there because you love working out and you love that process. It's sort of like when you do jujitsu, right? I love jujitsu. I love it. I don't go to jiu-jitsu class and say, I'm only going because I want to win worlds or I want to win ADDC or I want to be a black belt. I go because I love it. And I noticed that when you love a process and you don't necessarily have a goal, you end up getting rapidly good at that thing.
Yeah.
And you blow past any goals that you could have achieved or you could have made for yourself by falling in love with the process.
Yeah.
I'd love to know your take on that.
So I think more people should set goals around how they want to feel, right? Because ultimately, isn't it all about having a feeling of happiness? So it's like I envision a world where I wake up every day and I feel this way, right? It's like that's not something that's tangible, that's a feeling, but it's also inarguable, right? Like if you feel a certain way, there's no metric that can dictate whether that's a success or not, because it's about how you feel. So I think people should focus more on that, because they can literally get to that goal like a lot faster than any other like metric-based goal.
Well, what do you think creates happiness? Do you think happiness is created by feeling like you've made progress, feeling like you've. So I heard Jordan Peterson talk about this. He was saying that a lot of times we feel happy because we solve problems. Because if you think about it, right, what is the human mind? It's a computer. What is so forget the human mind for a second. But what does a computer do? What does it really do on a fundamental level? It solves crunches numbers, and it solves problems one right after the other. That's its purpose. And then one day the motherboard goes out and the computer stops working and it stops solving problems and it dies. The human brain is basically a computer, and it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like what happens if everything was perfect in your life? You'd almost go crazy.
Well, actually, we see this with super rich people and celebrities. They're like super depressed because the mind, even when you solve everything, the mind will look for new things to solve. So it might actually drag you down. It might actually cause chaos in your life so that you can solve them. Like a lot of people, they bring themselves down from success because their mind needs a new problem to create and solve.
Oh, yeah, I can feel that.
And that's another thing. There's this amazing book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And basically it's like, success for a lot of people is foreign. And their subconscious, it's almost scary to be successful because their subconscious is not used to that. So they would rather almost subconsciously self-sabotage to bring themselves down to what they're used to. So I've seen it with a lot of people and alcoholics too. That runs in my family. Like people will get a certain taste of success and then it'll make them feel weird. They'll get antsy with being successful. So then they'll start drinking again and drag themselves back down to what they know because it's comfortable. So what this book, The Big Leap, talks about is breathing into the new reality, right? And like slowing down and giving yourself time to accept these feelings, and then kind of breathe into the next version of yourself, and staying focused on that, and not allowing the subconscious to bring you back down.
Do you think that people oftentimes will, because success can happen fast, it can almost happen overnight, or at least it can feel like that.
Yeah.
They don't take time to breathe into it.
Yeah, dude, I see so many people like, who maybe they made $1 million and that's great. That's like good money, but they're like acting like super stupid. And it's like, dude, are you trying to kill this partnership? Are you trying to self-sabotage in some way? Like I can just see it in people where.
And you can almost look in their eyes and know they know what they're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
And you can see it way behind their eyeballs. They know, and they're still doing it.
Yeah, like I think the fake guys out there, maybe they made $1 million. They're acting stupid and trying to get attention, and a lot of times they're just acting stupid to try to bring themselves down. I think the most successful people are like the most like level and kind of calm and chill, and they breathe and they allow themselves to experience this new reality, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let's switch gears a little bit here. Okay. Did I ask you about myths yet?
Myths?
Did I ask you what the biggest myth in business that just pisses you off is? I feel like I asked you that.
No.
No, I didn't. All right, well, that's the question then. I want to do this. I want to ask you a couple more questions, and then actually two more. This one and one other, and then you up for some live calls?
Oh, hell yeah. Totally forgot about that.
Yeah, I did too. We were going to just go, and I forgot that we're able to take live callers.
We're live.
Yeah, so we can actually, so what I'd like to do is have some people call in and ask us some questions, and, see if we can give out some free consulting on this show and just talk to some people. Yeah, so here's a question. We'll just do two real quick. What is the thing that pisses you off the most, the myth about business, or really not even about business, but just accomplishing things?
Yeah.
And succeeding in life. What is the biggest myth that just makes your blood boil?
Well, I think some people feel like there's some secret knowledge that they need to know in business.
Oh,
and
yeah, you got it. That's yep. I know where you're going.
Like there's some secret knowledge, and they have to read all the books, and they have to like learn all the secrets. But after you read a few Dan Kennedy books and Dale Carnegie books, it's kind of like business is honestly just human relationships, And so if you can focus on getting really good at those relationships and then just doing the work, like you should, that's a good recipe for success. There's like no, there isn't any magic light bulb that's going to go off. It's just doing the work every day, commitment, and then being a really good person, because you can't not build a business yourself. Like, you have teammates, you have customers. Like, if you're not caring about all those people and on this mission together, then you're going to have a bad day.
I think a lot of times people waste such a chunk of their life searching for the easier path or the path of least resistance. And, I always sort of tried to view it a little bit different. Like, I always say, well, if I pick the hard thing and I get good at the hard thing, I'll have very little competition because nobody's willing to get good at that.
Yeah.
So while everybody else is looking for the easy way, I'm busy getting good at the hard way.
Oh, yes, I love it.
And they're just going to keep looking and keep looking and keep looking. And by the time, they're still going to be looking, and somebody else who has dedicated themselves to mastering the hard way is going to fly past them because they're just bouncing from thing to thing to thing to thing, looking for that easier way. And the truth is, there is no easy way. The only way is dedication, hard work, and commitment to the hard way.
Yeah. I think a good example would be, what's the difference between a garbage man and a nuclear waste disposal specialist? Like, they're both kind of garbage men, but one just like went into the bullshit so much, the hard shit, and learned so much about this one area. Yeah. And that's like a moat. Like, how many nuclear waste garbage men are there out there? Like, not that many, right?
I have never heard. Wow, that's a striking comparison. Wow, yeah, that's true, because you can go deep.
You can go deep
on almost anything. Yeah, you can go deep into shit. Oh, that's great. That's great. Okay, so
do you mind if I use the bathroom?
Oh yeah, dude, absolutely. Yeah, I got to too. But you know what? I'm gonna sacrifice my bladder. So yeah, go ahead, go for it. What I'll do is we'll get a hole drilled in the table for the next one that we can just do it right here. I'm just kidding.
Go. All right.
Yeah, it's right down the other road there.
All right. Thanks for joining us again, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll be right back.
Thank you guys. Live bathroom break. That's awesome. So Brandon, how we doing here? By the way, just guys, so you know, this is our first show, and we're just kind of winging it. I'm trying not to let my noticeably slightly lower aperture on my camera than his bother me. But
hey, come on.
Is his brighter than mine, or is that the lens?
No, I believe his is brighter than yours.
So you got to just turn a little bit on mine.
I'm pretty sure the cameras are matched, but I just got to double check the lighting. Yeah.
This is my background in audio and video that's just killing me right now. I'm sure like Joe Rogan has no idea about any of that stuff, nor does he care, and he just sticks to the topic. That's my internal. So we're going to take live calls in a minute. We have a phone number, and here's what we're going to do. The number is 813-474-9122. And what you can do is you can text this number, okay? And here's what I want you to do. I want you to text the number with your question. And please keep in mind that we're covering major problems in life, business, how to think about things, how to strategically things. We're not covering things. The word ad or funnel is barred from this show, so no questions on that. But no internet marketing stuff. But if you text 813-474-9122 with your question, Brandon, who's in the control room right there, if he likes your question and he thinks it's a good question, he will text you back, and then he'll give you a call and bring you on. So why don't you guys go ahead, and I'll ask Eric one more question, and then while I'm doing that, again, text 813-474-9122, and we'll bring you on if you have a good question. So just text the summary of your question to there. So I'm trying to remember that second question I was going to ask you. That was really good. Here it is. What is something going on right now in the world, like a current event, that it's just really difficult for you not to have an opinion on?
Yeah, I think right now is a kind of a strange time. I think there's some undertones of like, are there really evil people out there who are like, you know, trying to take down basically the whole world or reset the whole global economy? That's something that's on my mind sometimes.
It kind of seems like that sometimes, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, kind of. It's some bad vibes lately, I think, happening.
Yeah.
And not just in America, like all around the world. It's just COVID stuff, I think.
Have you seen, I forget the guy's name, but there's a YouTube video. It's like 3 hours long, and it's one continuous shot. I mean, literally, the guy's looking at the camera. He's got a black background, and it's 3 hours. There's no cuts. He just looks at the camera and goes for 3 hours. And it's
About what?
about the social construct. Have you seen it?
No.
So it's this idea that everything we see and we believe is basically based on, you know, this social, it's created a history, everything. Like, so let's say somebody tells you that, I don't know, a random scientific fact, like, I don't know, that water is H2O, right? And that's its, right? So, I mean, some scientist somewhere in a lab one day did this experiment and found that. And there was like maybe 3 people in the room. And then they told, you know, 10 other people that were out of the room, and then those people told, but like, how do you know that, and I'm not disputing the fact that water is H2O, that's not what I'm trying to say, but what I'm saying is like, whatever that fact was, the millions and millions and millions of facts that we have every day, that we build our entire...
The truths.
The
things
truths.
we consider as truths.
I mean, what was to prevent the person that found that out from just skewing that to the next person and down the chain and down the chain and down the chain? And so basically what he was saying was that pretty much our entire sense of reality is based off a social construct that is built upon this information collectively. And that there really is no such thing as truth, because it's almost impossible for there to be that, because it's just so degraded and so broken down as it's being permeated through society.
Right.
And so like last night I was I don't even remember what I was doing. You know, I was chilling out for the night, smoked a bowl, chilling. And I saw this post, and it had all these predictions, right? And it was predictions from the past 20 years that came true. Like all kinds of crazy stuff, like, you know, stuff about the NSA spying on us, right? And then at the bottom, it says, do you know who made all these correct predictions? Alex Jones. And you know who Alex Jones is, right? And you know, when I heard of Alex Jones, I was like, all right, well, this guy's just obviously using fake media to produce ad revenue and traffic, and, you know, just piss people off and get people crazy. And he sells survival products, you know? So if you think about it, it's the
Does
great...
he?
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know
smart.
that? Yeah. So on InfoWars, he will talk about all this doomsday stuff, and then he'll pitch survival products.
Wow.
You didn't? Yeah. If you think about it,
That's
it's actually
such a good tie-in.
it's actually quite genius. But so I just always assumed the guy was completely full of crap, and whatever, you know, do your thing. I mean, the media is always full of crap anyway. And then like I started seeing all of these things that he said would happen, and maybe he just got lucky, but they all came true. Not all of them, but a good portion of them came true. And then I thought about that video, The Social Construct, and I was like, dude, what if like there's a bunch of crazy people that we just think are absolutely batshit out of their mind crazy, but they're actually right, and they just sound crazy, and we're actually the dumb ones for not listening to them only because they don't know how to articulate themselves in a believable way. Like, have you ever like thought about stuff like that?
Dude, all the time. I think about how stupid the food pyramid that we grew up with
Oh,
was.
yeah.
That was considered like...
But these are the people we're supposed to believe that the other people are full of shit, right?
Yeah. Like, if you didn't believe that the food pyramid was right because it's made by the USDA, Department of Agriculture, you're like, you're an idiot if you disbelieve them.
Right.
But then, like, 20 years later, we're like, literally, that we could flip this entire thing upside down. And it's, you know, now we're finding out it's correct.
Right.
So I think, like, honestly, I think we have to people just seem to ask more questions, and they don't need to like get attached to certain conspiracy theories. They don't have to get attached to things, because nobody knows the truth. But people just need to like
the question.
Yeah, people just need to ask more and like get out of their own minds a little bit. That's why I think, you know, sometimes like, you know, doing some psychedelics occasionally, like not crazy, but just in a little bit, just kind of untangling the wires sometimes.
Yeah.
Meditation is same
meditation.
thing. It's like taking a ball of yarn and kind of like
Have you done psychedelics yet?
Yeah, a little bit.
You done ayahuasca or DMT?
Done ayahuasca twice. I've done, mushrooms a few times. Would even microdose occasionally with some mushrooms, not to like go crazy, but it just kind of helps break the wiring sometimes if you're really like for a few months in a row been going really hard and you're kind of really engaged and wired. Sometimes you need to like loosen that up. Sometimes if you go away to like a vacation or a beach or something, that might not even help. You literally need to, and even therapy might not even help.
So do you honestly want to know my opinion on that when it comes to like entrepreneurs and thought leaders?
Yeah.
And I could be completely off base on this, but you know how you see a lot of thought leaders and people who are out in the public and on social media, and they're always preaching these like sort of white picket fence standards, like you should do this and you should do that and you should be this perfect model human being. Yeah. And it's like, you're so full of shit, because I've met a lot of those guys and they're full of shit. They smoke weed, they do shrooms, they go to strip clubs, they're full of shit. I've met them. They're okay. I'm not gonna like put anybody on blast, but the same people I see with their stupid little Instagram meets going, this is not cool, and it's like a Lamborghini and like a girl with boobs, because girls do have boobs. And I know that people seem to be offended by that these days, but they'll be like, this is not success, this is success. And then they have like this, minivan and their family that they got done, portrait they got done at JCPenney or whatever. And they put that out there, and then you meet them in real life and they're like smoking weed, doing shrooms, going out. And it's like, dude, you're so full of shit. And it's that, I have never once met a person that is at 8 or 9 figures who we sat down on the table and he's like, yeah, the secret is you got to write down your daily affirmations. Like, I've never heard that ever. Just like, I've heard tons of times, like we're talking about right now. I mean, there's one prominent figure, I'm not going to name him, but I asked him, I said, you seem to be very into focus and against drugs and alcohol. What are your thoughts? Oh, yes, you shouldn't do drugs and alcohol, but every quarter you should trip on LSD because that'll open your mind. Like, a lot of high-level entrepreneurs, whether they want to admit it or not, they do mind-altering and expanding substances. And that's not to say from a recreational standpoint, because if you have done any research on things like DMT or ayahuasca, most people who do them, they don't do them to have fun.
No.
They do them as a form of therapy or enlightenment. They're not out there getting drunk,
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And people don't think about that.
Exactly. People like classify psychedelics with just like, oh, this is a drug, but it's like, it's not a drug. It's not like a party drug. It's not like to have fun. It's to honestly make you a better person.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think with stuff like that, and I think that like the highest level entrepreneurs, they go in and out, where they'll be really consistent with something and maybe their home life is rock solid and their business is rock solid, but then they'll actually need to go into some inspiration modes for a few months or a few weeks or something like that. But they can't stay in that forever, and they can't stay in a super structured, like, back end life forever either. I think it's a good mix to constantly be going in and out of those things and getting inspired, and then always like reinventing yourself too. I always think about this concept of like, I could totally reinvent myself today if I wanted to. Like, I really could. We all have the power to do that.
I think that's, and giving up money to do that is another, I mean, let me ask you, we'll take some calls, but let me ask you a question. What do you want to be known for? Like in 10 years, what do you want to be known for?
Well, I think it's, I think we may actually have a lot of similarities in this, but just helping as many people go from, 0 to super successful people. If I can inspire a few people, a few hundred people, maybe 1,000 people at Shine On, if we could create 1,000 millionaires, that would be like incredible on so many levels. And it's not about the money. It's like helping them go through that journey too. Right. And then they're going to inspire other people to do the same thing like later.
Trickles down.
Yeah.
It's like a web effect. Yeah. Brandon, do we got any callers?
Yeah, let me work on getting somebody on.
All right. Awesome. I want to like reach over in that camera and turn up the aperture. I'm terrible. This is fun, man.
Yeah, I'm having way fun right now.
Way fun. Yeah, I dig it. Yeah, we one of the reasons I decided to do this was because I've been doing what I've been doing for so long, and I don't know, just
How long?
well, successfully or unsuccessfully.
Let's say the beginning of success to now.
Well, I started in 2009, and I don't think I had any like actual success until maybe like 2000. And I mean, success is so variable. I mean, you could call me opening a bar successful. That was like 2015, or no, maybe that was 2012. I'm terrible with time. But the last 5 years has really taken off, and I mean, it's so weird because the majority of my career I made nothing, and then all of a sudden I make 25 million in a few years, and I'm like, whoa, you know, and it's just, for that length, the way that I run getclients.com, it's very, unless I get there in there and shake it up, it can be very automated. It can be very, just, you do this and you do this and you make the right decisions and you get clients, But I wasn't really having fun with it. Like I had fun with it when I did that yacht music video, but I was just getting sort of sick of talking about the same thing. And so that's why I wanted to do this show, because I want to talk about different things. I want to have fun with my business again. I want to build a new brand and have fun with it. And the beautiful part is this time I don't need money. You know what I mean? Like this time I can do whatever I want. And if it makes some money, I'm sure it'll make money, but it doesn't have to make me millions. I can just do it for impact.
There's no chip now.
There's no chip.
The chip got you started and made you successful. But who knows? Like maybe what you've already done is nothing compared to what you're going to do next. And like it could be totally different.
And it may not be measured in dollars.
And your legacy might be a totally different thing than you're known for right now. And you're known around the world. Like, yeah.
Well, I don't know about all that, but I hope you're right. I'm definitely doing my best. And I think this is a cool start. And I love the fact that you were able to come on and be the first guest.
Dude, I had no idea.
Else.
I didn't know actually.
I really couldn't think of anybody else that I would have been comfortable with being the first guest, to be quite honest with you. So
yep.
I do.
You always remember your first one. Yeah. Your first time.
All right, guys. With that being said, we do have our first caller. If you want to take this call.
All right. Who is this?
Just give me 1 second, and our caller is on.
Can you hear?
Hey, are you guys there?
Yeah. Oh, she's a little bit loud, but yeah. How you doing? Who is this?
Sorry. Sorry about that. I have a lot of enthusiasm. This is Lori in Nashville, and I am in my second year of business officially, thanks in large part to your host, Dan Henry.
Oh, well, awesome. I appreciate that. Wait a minute, hang on a second. Is this the Lori I think it is?
Lori. Yeah.
Oh, hey, how you doing? How's it going?
So,
I haven't seen you in a week.
It's going great. I know.
A whole week.
It's been since like Sunday. I know. Friday or whatever it was.
Yeah.
No, listen, I'm listening to, I caught you from the very beginning. This show is absolute fire. It's my favorite thing right now on the internet. With no lie, no exaggeration.
Really?
And I keep thinking, no, I'm not kidding. Legit, I am not kidding.
I'm not looking at the comments, so I have no idea if we're bombing or not. So.
No, it's incredible. It's incredible.
We have over 100
I keep
people
thinking
live.
of all these people I want to share it with. No, seriously. So I have a question.
Okay.
And I keep thinking about the Entrepreneur's Survival Guide book. And as a new business owner, someone who's really only been in business for just under 2 years, as a legit business owner, what is the major pitfall that I should avoid? And if you want context, I'm also a single mom with 3 kids. So, my life's crazy town. But what would you recommend I try at all costs to avoid going forward?
You wanna tag team this? Let you go and then I'll go.
So I actually can't hear her talking.
You can't hear her talking.
No,
oh,
so you might
Brandon.
need to repeat.
No.
Oh, okay. So I'll repeat what she said. Maybe Brandon can in the control room can fix that. But so what she said was that she's an entrepreneur. She's a mom of 3, and she the entrepreneurial survival guide that rung out to her, the book that you're gonna write. And she said, what is the biggest pitfall that she should be looking out for right now? She's been in business for 2 years. She's and I know Lori. She's a book editor. She's a fantastic book editor. So if you need, and she edited my book,
Nice.
Digital Millionaire Secrets.
No way.
So if you need a book editor,
Well, there we go.
Yeah, then this is the one. She will edit your book better than you will want your book edited, and will annoy the crap out of you about it, but it'll come out amazing. So, so her question is, as someone who's been in business a couple years, what is the biggest pitfall that she should watch out for? And Brandon, are you able to get her audio on Eric's headphones?
I believe so. I don't know if. Yeah, I believe so. I think it's set now.
Lori, can you say something?
Hi.
Oh yeah.
You got it? Okay, cool.
There we go. Okay.
Cool. So did I articulate your question good enough, Lori?
Yeah. Like, what is the thing that I should avoid at all costs?
Okay.
If I want to continue down this path of being an entrepreneur, having the time freedom, growing my income, yada, 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 single mom, 3 kids, what should I avoid at all costs based on your entrepreneur's survival guide?
Well, I think all humans are always doing like risk analysis in their mind. And so like me literally saying, I'm going to burn all the ships. I'm going to be doing this no matter what. I had no girlfriend at the time. I had no girlfriend at the time. I had no debt. I had no anything. I had nobody to report to. I could literally curl up and just do work 24/7 if I wanted to. So for me, when I'm thinking about like risk versus reward, like it was kind of all reward for me to go all in. There was nothing I could really lose. I think people they're all at certain things in life, and they need to sometimes protect what they have. And so the thing about making decisions, whether I should continue something or stop something, they're both good. And the reason is because we'll never know the truth to the other decision, So there should be comfort in just being decisive in general, I think.
So I'm going to take it down a little bit different a path. And honestly, Laura, I don't know if you have this problem, but for me, there's a mistake that I made repeatedly. If you make a mistake and you know it's a mistake and then you continue to make that mistake, it's no longer a mistake, it's a decision. And I made this decision many, many times. It's something that a lot of people do. I think you get some success, you get some money, then you get this big idea. And you say to yourself, well, I'm going to build this big thing and I'm going to go all in on it. But I've yet to really determine where my superpowers are, where my zone of genius is, get the proper education that I need to. And so you end up sort of taking, and it goes back to goal setting, right? Like when I was younger, I did the dumbest thing. I learned how to code PHP, programming language. And in my brain, I was like, okay, well, I know some basic PHP. So now I'm going to build a social media site. So I literally spent all my money on trying to do this. And of course it ended with this website that was just a bunch of notepad documents and code that didn't make sense and didn't connect. And I didn't think about like security and accepting payments and profiles and, all the compliance. And I just was like, I know PHP, I'm going to build a social media site. I didn't think of anything else. I didn't think of how I was going to get it out there. I didn't think about how I was going to follow the rules for, all the rules that there were to, and this was years ago. This was MySpace days, and so I wasted a good chunk of my life on something because I said, well, I have this skill. This is cool. Let me go build this huge thing. Let me go be the next Mark Zuckerberg, all because I learned some freaking PHP, and that was stupid. And I did things like that several times until I got to the point where I realized that, if I'm going to go all in on something, I need to go all in, but at a level where I understand that I need to understand it deeper. You know what I mean? Like if I was really all in on that, I would have researched those things, compliance, and like, I would have asked myself the questions like, how would I have got it out there? And I would have probably ended on the answer that I don't need to be the one doing PHP code, right? That's just like one nut or one bolt in this big machine. And what I need to be doing is designing the machine. What I need to be doing is figuring out how that machine is going to make wheels turn, not sitting there designing one bolt and thinking that all of a sudden that's going to flourish into this big thing. And I think a lot of times we get ahead of ourselves and we try to overshoot the runway. Like we have, and it goes back to goal setting, right? Like we have this, I'm not going to say unrealistic goal. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say a goal without the proper due diligence, Because like imagine that you were going to be a doctor, right? You say to yourself, I'm going to be a doctor. That's my goal. I want to be a doctor. But you don't ask yourself, hey, am I willing to get up at 4 a.m.? Hey, am I willing to study 16 hours a day? Hey, am I willing to give up alcohol and partying throughout my college years and just focus on this? Hey, am I willing to do all these things that require me? Am I willing to, for a time, clean shit out of people's underwear at the hospital or whatever? Like, am I willing to do all this to be a doctor? What is the answer to that? Not just, ooh, I'm going to be a doctor, and then you start going all in on it, but you never think about the process. You never think about the road. And I think a lot of people don't think about that. And so they go in on something and then they give up, or they get left with, an unfinished project because they didn't think about the process.
I think like a successful new business or a successful startup, there's like 3 phases, right? I think of phase 1 is like you're hacking through the jungle with a machete. Okay. And so sometimes that might be a couple months, sometimes that might be a couple years, but you're trying to find this product market fit. You're just trying to get traction. And then eventually, if you hack through the jungle long enough, you'll get to this dirt road, right? And so maybe you see a donkey or something on that dirt road, and it's getting a little easier, but you still don't really know where that like road is going. And if you follow the dirt road long enough, and I would say, my company, we're probably tail end of the dirt road, but then the last step is sort of the super highway. And it's like, this is the system that works. Like you put $1 in, you pull the lever, and you get $3 out. And it's just like totally systematized. And now you're on the super highway. So I think people need to ask themselves, are you willing to sign up for that adventure, right? And are you willing to go through those 3 phases? And a lot of people they don't want to spend the time to hack through the jungle, especially if they're supporting their family or something like that. They're not in the hacking phase of their life, and that's okay. But yeah, I think the best business ideas, like they take one thing that works already and they do it in a different vertical or like a different niche. So like me, I was like, I want to do Teespring for jewelry. Right. And then there's some businesses that are like, I want to be DoorDash for sporting events or something like that. Like there's models that work. Mm-hmm.
But you thought that through.
Yeah, I knew that the model worked. Yeah. Like I was inspired by a model that worked. So I don't think you can just take a random idea and truly believe in it unless you have some anchor of success. Someone else has done it before in something similar but different.
You got to do your due diligence on your dreams.
Yeah, you just need to find the model that works, I think.
Yeah. Does that help, Lori?
Yeah. Actually, do you mind if I put it in a nutshell and repeat back to you what I think I heard you say?
Sure.
Okay. So begin with the end in mind. Be humble enough to know that you don't know what you don't know. Model what works and understand it's going to be a process.
Yeah, and try to fall in love with the process more than the goal. That would be the thing I would add in there.
That's good.
Yeah. Cool.
I love that. Awesome.
It was nice talking to you, Lori. Thank you so much for calling in.
You too.
That's cool.
Always a delight to be part of what you're doing.
See you, Lori.
Brandon, we got anybody else?
I believe we do, but I have to learn how to filter them out as we have a caller.
Oh, you can't hear Brandon now. Oh, okay. So we got some tech stuff to work out in here, but we'll figure it out. So now Eric can't hear you, Brandon.
Eric can't hear me?
No.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, he should hear me now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Nice voice.
First episode, still trying to figure all
Yeah,
this out.
we're trying to we'll get it done. I'm sure if you went back and looked at like Joe Rogan's first episode, it was horrifying, and he probably doesn't want to watch it himself. And it's still probably pretty good from a content perspective. But now he's got this fancy. Have you seen his new?
He was a
studio?
comedian before.
That's true. He has an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
He was funny. I'm just funny looking. So, yeah, his new studio is really nice. I dig it. I dig the wood vibe he's got going on. So so while Brandon's working on another caller, I'll see what time is it. 5:40. So we got about another 20 minutes. At least that's until my bladder explodes. So.
We do have one more caller.
Sweet. Okay. Awesome. Let's do let's do a little intro. Tell me the name of the caller before we bring them on. That would be fantastic, and maybe where they're from, if you know.
Oh, we have Ruben coming on. And Ruben, where are you from?
Hey, I'm calling in from Manhattan. This is Ruben Kanya. You actually know Brandon, right? Brandon. Ruben from Investor Talent. I got a
Oh man. Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Good. I missed you guys last week. Question. As we're talking about the how to things, and we're talking about short-term goals versus long-term vision, my question is, how do you structurally have it planned where you insert new goals as you get new information, and how you shelve current goals? And how do you know when to stay the course along the journey, right? And thinking long term. So in other words, how do you keep the short term plan versus your long term vision, and how do you shelf, and how do you add on as you get new information along the journey?
So, for me personally, maybe Eric has a different view on this, because I guess a lot of it depends on where you're at in your life and your business model. But for me, I don't like goals. Like I'm weird. I'm very against goals, right? I am more about one goal, and that is forward. One direction forward, regardless of because if you think about it, whatever goal you have, it's down the road, right? Whether it's 10 feet down the road, a mile down the road, 10 miles down the road, 100 miles down the road, doesn't matter where it's at, you're still going to be moving forward to get there. So your wheels, your direction is still moving forward regardless. So for me, I like to, like a lot of people, they focus on systems, right? But they never focus on the skills to fill the systems. So they'll say, well, if I learn this system, I'll be great. But they don't, they don't want to, like imagine you were a speaker, okay?
Yeah.
And you said, well, I'm going to learn a speaking script or a format of speaking that will allow, that these big time speakers use, and I want to learn that format, I want to learn that way of speaking. But then you never focus on articulation, on learning inflection. You never study great speakers and learn how, you might say the right words, but you're kind of talking like this and and you never learn how to actually articulate yourself in a way that, keeps people's attention and use different tones of voice. And you never worry about the skill of speaking, you worry about the system. So I see a lot of people do this. And for me, I think that when you learn new skills, the outcome of that and the byproduct of that replaces goals. So, if you say, okay, I'm going to get my company to 100 million. Well, what do you have to do to get your company 100 million? Let's just say that you have to focus on strategic partnerships, or you have to focus on sales or selling or whatever. Like for in my company, for getclients.com, for me, I had to focus on being as persuasive as possible and learning how to shift people's perspective, because in that business, a lot of people have a lot of limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
And so they want something, like they want to buy something. They want to educate themselves, but they don't, because they don't believe in themselves. So I had to get good at helping people believe in themselves and showing them a way and articulation. I didn't worry about how much money I was making. I didn't worry about where I wanted to be. I worried about getting good at that, and those things happened as a result of it.
Oh yeah. So there, there's a lot of Silicon Valley companies and venture capital backed companies who they have this mission statement and they have this goal of going public or getting acquired and changing the world or whatever. But a lot of these companies, you know, they're tracking all these different KPIs, which is just a fancy word for different metrics. And a lot of the time, over time, they figure out there's only one or two numbers that actually matter to drive the entire business forward. And it might be like engagement per user. It might be how many times do they log back in to the software per month, right? So it's all about finding the truth of like only the top 1 to 3 most important things that you can influence in the business, and only focusing on like those things. So I think the goal would be, the most important goal is actually finding the right metrics, finding the right things to focus on in the business. And so I'll just give you an example. For us at Shine On, when sales are slow, I'm like, I don't care, because engagement's way up. Like, I know that the money will come. I know sales will come. Let's just keep ensuring that engagement per user is up. Like, they're interacting in our Facebook group. Like, they're logging into the app like
Right.
X amount of times per month. So I think just finding those business, like the most successful business people, they're truth seekers. They're just trying to find the truth. And there's all this complexity, and there's these clouds of different information. And if they can simplify and boil it down to just the most important thing, then they'll sort of be a guiding light for everyone in the business.
80-20 rule, Pareto principle.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
80-20, 100%.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. 80-20, 100%. So that's I mean, what you said about like finding the truth, I experienced that in my business. You know, I built getclients.com up to, dude, I never said I want to make $25 million. 25, 26, 21, 27, 18, 15. These are just numbers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just wanted to be successful. And so one of the reasons I started this, and I started howtothink.com, is because I realized that a lot of people would pay me a ton of money for business advice. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars for business consulting. And 9 times out of 10, if not 9.9 times out of 10, I would not get a business question. I would get a mindset question. I would get a critical thinking question. I would get a question that really came down to decision making or how you thought, not a business or marketing or sales tactic per se. And that was the lion's share of the questions, where those questions boiled down, and how those questions turned into something that actually led to progress in their business, was learning how to think about things. And I did this for almost 5 years now. And I've been on...
You're almost like a therapist, because that's what a good therapist will do. They ask a question, and the person's like, holy crap.
Right. And I would get on these calls. I mean, I've been on thousands of coaching calls, right? And I would get on these calls, and I would have to ask questions, because, you know, if you knew the exact question you needed to ask, you probably wouldn't have the problem. Yep. And so I would dig, and I would find out that these issues really came down to things like confidence and believing in yourself and understanding how to think about things and how to critically think through things. And so I thought to myself, okay, I would really like to create a company, a movement, a brand that was dedicated not just to mindset, but teaching people how to think about things so that they could achieve more in their life, because it really comes down to the lens in which you see the world, and not having to charge them tens of thousands of dollars to do that, because these same principles apply to anything in life. And that's why we started howtothink.com, which, by the way, is our sponsor. Our sponsor is us. And if you'd like to get daily mentoring from me and a host of other amazing human beings and business owners and entrepreneurs, you can go to howtothink.com and sign up. We are launching soon. Very, 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 very super affordable.
So cool.
Yeah, it's a daily mentoring session downloaded to your app right on your phone each and every day. And the sessions are just 5 to 8 minutes, which everybody has time. And you know the other thing about that, and this is just my personal gripe with the personal development industry, is that in the personal development industry, there seems to be this pattern where it's like, hey, attend this 5-day event or this 16-hour course, and you will fix your mindset, you'll fix your confidence, you fix your motivation. And the truth is, I believe that that's not the best way to do things. Because what happens when you go to those events? You come home and you feel great, and then all of a sudden it all goes away. The truth is that the law of marginal gains, to me, and from what I've seen, is the best way to improve your mindset and how you think about things and your belief system and getting rid of limiting beliefs, is because you just have to get 1% better each day. If you have 5 minutes a day to work on your mind, just 5, you will make far more progress. You will get compounding results over time than if you go to a 3 or 4 or 5 day event all at once. You're tired, you're hungry, you're trying to absorb everything, and then you forget everything, you go home. Instead, work on it just. Everybody has 5 minutes a day. And that's why I created this company, because I believe that's the best way to fix your mindset and improve it, not fix it, but improve it, and have a growth mindset and achieve things in life, is by just working on it a little bit a day and following the law of marginal gains, the 1% rule. And that's why I started this.
Yeah.
So
I love it. Another thing too, that there's an information side of growing your knowledge. But another way to become more successful too is just focusing on your brain health, like your literal physical brain health.
Oh yeah.
Because if you can increase your brain health by 30%, all the other stuff you're going to take in, that's just compounded gains. So like I personally I research brain health all the time, like all the meditation, all the supplements, all the like cool stuff they're doing with different types of like fungus supplements and different mushroom supplements, not like psychedelic ones, but just for focus and health.
It'd be an added bonus.
Theanine. Yeah. Ice baths, saunas, like all this stuff is like
Wim Hof breathing and all this. There's a lot out there. There's a lot out there that it could be. Because I see a comment, because I can see comment. How can I sign up for this 5 minute a day coaching? Just go to howtothink.com. Sign up for the waiting list. We'll be launching it very, very soon. I think we forgot about our caller. Ruben, did that answer your question?
No, I'm here.
Did that?
we're just hanging out.
Yeah, we're just chilling, man.
So,
this is a vibe session.
No, absolutely. To recap, here's what I got out of all that. Focus on a skill, such as, let's say, if you're public speaking, focus on that. Focus on the craft. And then based on what you said as well, is then measure the most important KPIs for that specific skill, and then focus on the law of marginal gains of 1% better every single day on those KPIs, and make sure that your brain is healthy so that you can execute on that skill set daily.
I mean, you just wrapped up. Yeah, that was a good summary. Yeah, no, you got it. And do you know where that law of marginal? You know where I heard about that law of marginal gains? And by the way, thank you, Ruben. I hope that was helpful.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
It's all about asking the right questions.
Yeah. The book Atomic
question.
Habits.
Yeah. Oh, I got to read that.
You
I
gotta
make a
read
note.
it. Okay, listen. You had me read
Making a note
How to Win
right
Friends
now.
and Influence People, which is that is probably the hardest stuff to implement, like all of them, because you forget about a lot of those things, just simple things. But this right here is an amazing book, and it talks about how there was a British cycling team that was like the Bad News Bears. They were like the worst team in cycling, and they brought on a new coach. And what the coach did was he did all these crazy things just a little bit a day. He would get different pillows. He would literally test different pillows so that the athletes got a better night's sleep. Different helmets that were more aerodynamic, different bike seats so they were more comfortable. I mean, just these tiny little things, little teeny tweaks. And he would just do them constantly. And every single day he'd tweak one thing. And he did this, and I think it was over the course of 1 or 2 years. It worked so well that they ended up winning like 5 Tour de France, whatever. And they won tons of Olympic gold medals, and they became the dominant force in cycling. Because they focused
1%.
on just 1% better each day. And that's actually how I've always, you know how a lot of times in our industry, there'll be trends and, people will try to change their system of marketing based on whatever the flavor of the week is. I've done the same thing for the last 5 years, the same exact way of marketing and generating sales. And I've just tried to get better and better and better at it and tweak it 1% each day. And I'm still able to pull crazy numbers and maintain an 8-figure company doing the thing that everybody else says
100%.
doesn't work anymore, or it's too hard, or whatever bullshit story people tell themselves to give them an excuse for their 1-bedroom apartment. You know, not that there's anything wrong with that, but when you're trying to make money and you're giving yourself excuse after excuse and you're saying, well, you know, it's because this is too hard. It's because there's too much competition. You know, it's because, you know, of all these things, and you never admit the fact that it's because of you not focusing and not getting better at what you do. That's when you deserve that 1-bedroom apartment. Okay.
Yeah.
But I believe everybody can be deserving of everything. Everybody can become deserving, you know, and this sounds harsh, but I learned that from some mentors of mine. They said, listen, and this was a real harsh truth. I've been fortunate enough to meet 3 billionaires in my life. And one of them, well, I've actually, all 3 of them have given me some very similar advice, but one of them gave me a different perspective. It was a little harsh. It was a little hard to swallow because at the time I was poor and I had that 1-bedroom apartment. And, he said, listen, here's the deal. If you don't have a nice house, if you don't have a nice car, if you don't have a nice life, it's because you don't deserve it. And the key is not to sit there and tell yourself you don't deserve it and that's why you don't have it. It's to make yourself deserve it. It's to become the person that does deserve it. So think about where you want to be in 10 years. Think about what that person looks like, and then think about how that person behaves. Think about how that person conducts, you know, life. Think about how that person, their habits, and just do that. You know what I mean? Like if
All the time. I ask myself, would Tom Brady be doing this right now?
right.
Like all the time. It's usually Tom Brady. I don't know why. Just crazy discipline.
Well, because I mean it's Tom Brady, bro.
Yeah. It's just,
But I mean,
it's
think
like
about
the perfect person. Yeah.
If you go out every night and you drink and you get drunk, and the next day you can't focus on building your legacy, right?
Yeah.
You don't deserve shit. But if in 10 years you were this amazing person and you built this amazing thing and you did what you want to do you think that person would be out drinking every night? No, it's because that person, that future version of yourself deserves all of that and your current version of yourself doesn't. So you look at the future version and you say, that person deserves it. How do I be like that person? And that person does not go out and drink every night.
And let's say you're drinking every night and you're not getting the results you want. Most people they'll bail on their original idea, or they'll like try to diversify. Oh, I'm going to diversify in these other product lines. It's like, no. Go back to your core business idea and quadruple down on that.
Yeah.
Because you already have some traction on that. Some people will get flustered and they'll get anxious and they'll want to diversify. But I think every successful billion-dollar business would say that they started by just doing one thing like really well.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. And dude, I think a lot of us become guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. And then I reel myself back in and I go, wait a minute. Yeah. And that's the other thing, man, is a lot of people think, and I want to be clear here, you can make mistakes and you can still be successful. I mean, I've made a ton of mistakes. I've made recent stupid mistakes.
Same.
Dude, like I made a mistake recently that cost me $500,000.
Yikes.
Like in 45 days. And I didn't even know I was losing it. And I've made 2 other mistakes very similar to that. But I still have, and all those mistakes were outside of my zone of genius. That's the thing. I shouldn't even have been there. Bro. Like I had no business in that part of town. You know what I mean? Like I shouldn't even have been there. And so you can still make crazy mistakes and still be super, super successful. I still go home and I was talking to a good friend of mine, Myron, you know, Myron Golden. And this had to do with stocks. I basically hired a company to manage an account in it. And in 45 days, they drained the account to almost zero. Yeah.
Like stealing.
No, just being really bad at what they do. I made more money, and I'm not even an experienced stock trader. Like I'm okay. But I wanted to focus on my business. So like an idiot, I was like, oh, I'll hire these traders to manage this account because they seem like they have a good track record and they drain the account. And so I was talking to my friend Myron, and he's like, that was really stupid. I'm like, I know it was stupid. I know it was really dumb. But he goes like this. He says, this is me. He says, well, here's the thing. You only lost money. You didn't lose your skills. You know, I go out and make that back like that, no problem. You know, and that's because I have the skills.
Yeah.
You know, so
I made mistakes where I would think about them 6 months later. I'm like, man, if I only did this, and I have to like slap myself. I'm like, you're fantasizing about something that was never even there ever. You still are the same person with the same skills. Actually, you're probably a better person for going through that bullshit because you learned a bunch in the process. So you're actually stronger in a way.
Oh, yeah, and that's the thing is it's all about how you view it. Because like if you think about it, I could sit there and say I could beat myself up for the next 6 months over that dumb decision, put myself in a negative state, and then when I go to take actions in my business, growing this company, whatever, because I'm in that negative state, I am now going to do worse at that, and I'm going to cost myself even more money. That money is gone, right? That money's gone. But the thing about it is that, dude, we're both young, and you know we're going to make mistakes now, yesterday, tomorrow, and the thing is you can't let those mistakes carry with you, because if you let those mistakes carry with you, you will create more mistakes. You'll create more failure.
You'll be on tilt.
That didn't need to ever happen. You know, you just got to let it go.
You know this term, on tilt? It's like a poker term.
I'm a
It's
pool
like
player.
If you play like let's say you take a bad beat, and you know, you go all in or something and you have a bad beat, then in their next poker game, they're on tilt. They're like, they're all screwed up in the head.
Oh, yeah.
And so you can't get on tilt like when stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
And sometimes to make me feel comfortable about bad things that happen, you know, I think about like the Big Bang and everything moving outwards at predictable rates, and like how mathematically we can predict everything that's going to happen. This atom's going to move this way based on X, Y, Z. And I'm kind of like, yeah, you know, there's literally no other way it could have happened. This was just going to happen in your life no matter what.
Yeah.
And so that kind of gives me comfort sometimes, you know?
Yeah. So it's like predetermined. It was going to happen. And the best thing you can do is learn from it. And you can share. I mean, think about this. If I didn't do that, if I didn't have that experience happen, and one of maybe 100 other experiences, I would not be able to share that with my audience and other people, and perhaps prevent them from making those mistakes. So there's always a purpose.
Yeah.
There's always a half glass
like,
full, you know.
It's totally a gift.
Yeah. Experience is a gift. Mistakes are a gift. Failure is a gift. Well, I always say that there's no such thing as failure. Failure is simply the data required for success. Success needs data.
I love that. I think about sometimes too, like in your decisions, you only need to be right like 51% of the time.
Right.
Like in blackjack, if you're right 51%, if you do keep doing it long enough, you'll actually be a winner. But then like with these improvements you're talking about daily, 1%, maybe you become you're right 52% of the time, and then maybe you're right 60% of the time. And then maybe 20 years later, you're right like 80% of the time. Just imagine that.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, I think business and life is all about decision making, right? If you make more good decisions than bad, your life will turn out a lot better than if you make more bad decisions than good. And that's, I mean, we sit here and we fantasize, what's the meaning of life? What's the secret to life? That's it. That's it. I mean, to me, it's just that. Like, you just make more good decisions than bad. It's not, why do you don't got to complicate it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you make more good decisions than bad, your life turns out better than if you make more bad decisions than good. So learn to make good decisions.
I love that. That's how you think.
That's how, maybe you should. Yeah, you know what? It's 6 o'clock, and
true.
I'm eyeing this bottle of water right here, thinking I could fill this back up right now. So I think this is a good note to end, because you didn't care, man. You were just like, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Yeah, sorry guys. I was quick as a
No, you
whistle.
were. I mean, yeah. I'm surprised there's not a dribble trail coming down here, because that was super fast. But dude, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing. And can I make a selfish ask?
For you?
Yeah, for me. Okay. Yeah. I have a feeling that a lot of people who listen to this could have a lot to learn from you. And I think that it would be really cool, because it seems like you know how to raise money. And you also know a lot about e-commerce. I would love to have you host an audio course on our How to Think platform. Which, let me just explain how this works for anybody listening. Right now, How to Think is just $7 a month, super cheap, right?
Yeah.
You get the daily mentoring for $7 a month, and then we have, we have these other courses that you can purchase on the platform by guest instructors. Well, you could purchase them, or you could get them for free, because if you share your link right from the app and you refer somebody to join, you earn Think Coins, and you can buy those courses with Think Coins so they can be free. I'd love for you to host a course either on e-commerce or how to raise money, an audio course.
Oh
on there.
man, it'd be
that
so
would be
fun.
amazing. We could record it right in here.
I do. For anyone listening, I do have I wrote a free article called how to raise venture capital on my site, Eric Toz, TOZ.com.
Oh, sweet.
6 easy steps to raising venture capital.
Oh, okay.
And it's
so we could do a 6-part audio course and just dive real deep into that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, that'd be awesome,
do it,
man.
If you can't wait, go to my site.
Oh yeah, go to the site, Eric Toz. Would you just search it?
Yeah, Eric with a C, Toz.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the name of the article?
6 easy steps to raise venture capital.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go read it because I love reading stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So go check out that article if you're interested in it. But we definitely need to get you on to do an audio course.
Let's do it. I had so much fun, man. I could
You
do
dig
one
it?
of these a day, honestly.
Yeah, so
but you're a great host. Like,
well,
honestly, you are.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Last night I Googled Joe Rogan interview secrets and how to be a great interviewer, and I stayed up all night smoking weed trying to learn how to be a world-class interviewer in 2 hours. I don't know if I did a decent job yet. I'm sure I'll get better, but I would love. We need to get a badge or something that's called Usual Suspects, because you're local. I
Yeah.
think we should get like you and some other guys that just come on regularly. So you can be my Eddie Bravo. You know, my Brendan
I'll just fill in
Schwab.
when you need me.
Yeah, and we can just have just bullshit on some of this stuff and get like 3 or 4 people in here.
And I can be the guy. Over time, maybe I'll be the color guy in the background saying, "Whoops, shouldn't have done that." Told you so.
Just don't. Let's not go down the flat Earth theory rabbit hole. Just kidding. Thank you, man, so much. Thank everybody for listening. And also, if you enjoyed this show, please do me a solid. Tag somebody in it. Share it. Just tell more people about it so that we keep doing it and we don't get bored. And
I can't wait for the next one.
I don't think I can get bored after I just bought all these lights that the batteries don't last the whole
It's
show.
the first show. First show.
We need to plug these in because these do not last the whole show. But I give it to you. It's the first show. I noticed it like right in the middle of we're talking, one of them went off. But yeah, I dig it.
You did great. First
We'll have to get a
show.
vape pen in here next time.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
We'll have some
maybe
real conversations then.
like the last third of the show.
Yeah, we'll get through the first half, and then and then we'll dive down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I gotta get a narrower table. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. And once again, share, comment, subscribe. And if you are interested in getting daily mentorship and learning from some amazing entrepreneurs like Eric here himself, join How to Think and go to howtothink.com and sign up. See you guys later.
See you guys.